It's time to create the ultimate recipe for success within your AWS console and bake a fully functional web server. How about we pull out our AWS Cookbook and see what type of ingredients we need? Yeah. Let's do this. I think it's time we get this recipe started. Let's start off with our VPC. Let's add a subnet. I want my web server to access the internet, so let's set up that internet gateway. Okay, time to deploy our web server. Let's move on over to the EC2 console and deploy our instance. Grab our EC2 instance, which includes our OS, our CPU, and RAM. Let's select our EBS storage. How about some tags? Maybe a security group so we can access it. What else am I missing? A key ingredient. Maybe a key. Do I want to access this instance? Let's grab our key. All right, let's stir this up. This is smelling good. Let's throw it in the oven and see what it comes out. Bam! Now I have the ultimate web server thanks to the AWS Cookbook. Joining me today are the authors of the AWS Cookbook, Mike Zazon and John Culkin. Before I bring them onto the show, how about you hit that like, subscribe, and notify? Okay, time to welcome Mike Zazon and John Culkin to the show. Mike, John, thanks so much for joining me.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Guys, this is super exciting for me to have you guys join the show. Why? Because I want to talk about the book that you guys wrote, the AWS Cookbook, Recipes for Success on AWS. By the way, I think this is a long time coming, and I'm surprised that nobody else has done it before you. So thanks for taking the initiative on it. Let's jump right into it. I want to give a little backstory to the audience. John, I'm going to start with you. Why? Because I heard you're from my neck of the woods.
Absolutely. Well, I like to think that you're from my neck of the woods, John, but no, we are lucky enough to live close to each other physically, about 45 minutes away. And, at the time we were working at AWS and we met each other, and it was great to just collaborate with you because I'm a longtime listener of your podcast. So I'm really thrilled to be here in person today speaking.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate it. I definitely appreciate the support. Those who say they're a longtime listener, I now have 5 of them. Thank you. You are number 5. So I appreciate it. Mike, how about yourself?
So I'm actually from Ohio, and I spent a number of years at Ohio State University, and ended up working with John at a company called CloudReach after I left the university. We had a great time together, and our friendship and professional relationship really blossomed at CloudReach there.
So CloudReach actually used to be one of my partners when I was at AWS. Wow, the small tech world.
I love it.
That's pretty good. All right, guys, let's jump into it. I want to know, and I'm sure our audience want to know, John, why? How did you come up with creating this book? What was the whole backstory and the process, and how long did it take you to get this done?
No, it's a great question. As Mike mentioned, during our time together at CloudReach, we were, leading teams, part of teams that were helping customers, navigate their cloud journeys, be it a migration and optimization. And we were lucky enough to have those experiences and be in a lot of projects, boots on the ground. And we learned a couple of things that we kept explaining to customers and explaining to ourselves. I feel like we've learned a lot writing the book, so I was grateful for that. And we really just wanted to take a chance, take a breath, and write down those learnings and hope that it helps somebody else along the way. Because absolutely, when we had a problem, we would search the internet, search the forums, and find somebody else who had done it before. So we really just want to try to help in that way.
How about yourself, Mike? Why? How? I mean, who came up with this idea to write this book? Were you guys sitting down, scratching some things on the napkins? Did it happen and start before the pandemic hit? Did you guys get together?
Well, all credit to John for the initial idea. I know we talked a lot about the concept of something like this as we were working together. We would go out for dinner after working with our customers and be like, boy, we always are, explaining the same kind of thing, or pointing people to documentation, everything, or as simply as you could put it. And so our verbal explanation kind of right next to somebody was always something that we thought was really valuable. And we thought, what if we could write it down and create these little just these nice little snippets of things. And then we also have this concept in the book of these fast fixes, like pointing people to like little one-liners to solve a little quick problem. So, it all kind of came together in a really neat way.
Mike, who was your initial customer when you guys thought about this book? Was it an internal AWS person? Was it your actual one of your own customers that you were thinking about it? Or maybe somebody that's just trying to get into AWS and understand a little bit more about it?
Working with a pretty big enterprise company at the time, and we were working on application migrations, and John and I were kind of part of a couple different migrations. So we would work with application developers or, cloud engineers. And we really saw just a commonality amongst the questions they were asking us.
John, real quick question. First of all, I like how in the beginning of this book, you guys talk IAM roles and policies and security right away. As I was going through the book, I'm like, okay, this is something that you normally see halfway through it or at the end, but you jump right into it for the customer to understand the full potential and the security around the environment. John, what was the idea behind that?
I'm glad you noticed that, because security being the first chapter was not a coincidence. And as you mentioned, such an important topic and really needs to be understood well as you're going about recipes later in the book, like when you're approaching serverless or databases. You really want to have a grasp of what's available and how to configure security roles so that your intended access is what is actually what actually happens. We loved the tools that were available by AWS, and that was a chapter that I really learned a little bit, and I was happy to get my hands dirty with, for example, the role analyzer to actually, policy analyzer, to really find a way to test your policies and what access they grant before you put them in use. So I thought that was a really powerful pattern, and we were happy to write that recipe.
Now, was this a joint that you guys worked on together for the security, or does one person have more passion about it? How about it, Mike?
I think we both share a similar passion for it. It's something that needs to be at the core of what we do day to day. There's so many interesting ways to craft a great security posture in AWS. And when you're just starting out, if you learn some of these foundational basics, it just sets you up for success long term. Like the policy analyzer is great. Generating a policy, we go through maybe analyzing some access patterns and then being able to automatically make a policy. That's a good starting point. And also, just for the purposes of the book, we walk readers through setting up a role-based access just for themselves, so they can get away immediately from using a root user, which some folks get in the habit of early. Just create a quick one and have something to just go through all the recipes in the book with. So, I think those nice little steps in the direction of a great security posture are really important for readers to understand early. And then you can jump into any chapter in the book after you've got everything set up.
I agree with you. Now, I think AWS has done an excellent job of changing security throughout the whole tire of implementation and how long it exists. They've done a much better job of making it easier to implement security and making it like, step one, ground zero for it. Everybody, I want to let you know that we're talking with John Culkin and Mike Zazon about their book, their AWS Cookbook, Recipes for Success on AWS. John, how long did it take you guys to write this book?
It was a process, and especially as first-time authors, it was probably more work for us. And as you can realize, things in AWS world changed rapidly. That also made it more challenging. So I would say start to finish about a year and a half, and we tried to tell ourselves to use the pandemic almost as a way just to zone out. There's nothing else to do, so really just sit down. Kind of one of our mottos was write with fire, edit with ice. So you really had to, don't worry if you're in a writing mode or writing phase. Just get some content down, get some ideas down, come back when you're in a different mindset and really analyze those and do some editing. But it did take a while. And one of the biggest changes during the process of writing the book was the release of the CDK 2.0. So we did use the CDK, an awesome tool to develop some scenarios. So as you talked about, these recipes are recipes for success on AWS was our tagline. And we wanted to create scenarios that you might encounter on a customer site, on a work site that you started as a new employee. So one example would be a recipe that required a VPC, subnets. Well, we wanted to give you code with the CDK that created those subnets that then you could use in future steps to create the recipe we're working on. So when the CDK updated, we kind of had to go back and rewrite a bunch of recipes. So it was painful, but we loved having the new version of the CDK.
Mike, how's it feel with AWS constantly updating and enhancing their features? And then all of a sudden you have this book 90-some%. Now I'm just speculating completely like, oh man, we got to make this right. We got to go back and do it because it's for the customer. They got to see and they got to interact and really feel the exact thing that we're going through.
It's a really good question there. And I think, I do think that we have somewhat taken this. So we understand that, right? And the new features that come out, that's one of the reasons people love the cloud. AWS listens to customers and implements things and fixes things or improves things very quickly. And that nice feedback loop there, really customer driven. But one of the things that we've tried to do is kind of future-proof things in the sense our GitHub repositories, they're living repositories. So we encourage readers to go check code out, maybe even contribute some code if they'd like. It's all open source under MIT license. And then for us too, if anything's been updated, syntax is tweaked at all, we can make the updates and ensure that people have a smooth experience running through the book. And the concepts that we go through, as things change and evolve, we do call that out in the book for sure. Like, if you pick up this book 5 years from now, we do hope that you'll still pick up these great foundational concepts that you'll need. And that's what we were trying to package up there. And so with that, plus our kind of living code repository, we do feel like this is a resource that is going to be relevant for a long time.
Now, we will be talking about some of the free stuff that Mike and John are providing. Stay tuned. Plus, I will provide the links in the description below. I think having it as a GitHub and a living, breathing document that you guys have full control to update. Imagine trying to update a book. Here, let's do the new release. Here's a new version that comes out, and it's a constant cycle where you guys have full control with the GitHub. Now, we're not going to spoil it yet for everybody, but I will provide it, and I want you guys to talk about some of the free stuff you provide. John, question for you. And actually, Mike, I'll ask you in a second the same one. How many of your peers knew you were writing this book?
A few, because I would, maybe ask for some tips about some common scenarios, but it was something we did after work hours. So, definitely something we toiled with by candlelight, overnight. So that, a few of them were surprised when it kind of came out and was published over social media channel, and they recognized the amount of work that it took, and we're happy to see it. So that was a good feeling.
Mike, how about you?
Yeah, pretty similar kind of, definitely after work stuff. And, one of the things that John and I did do was go to a couple of our peers that we've been working with for a while. And we asked them for some help. The technical review process of the book was really, really important to make sure that we got things, kind of dialed in, very, very accurate. And so we pulled some great folks from our Rolodexes of people that we've worked with and people we trust to run through. We think everybody that contributed, it was really fun collaborating with them and learning along the way from them about how to talk about something in a different way, maybe a more broader context. Just little tips that we've got from folks that we worked with was just really, really awesome.
Mike, what did your manager or Skip say about you guys writing this book? Did they know going into it, or be like, oh my God, you guys wrote this? I'm assuming your manager knew for some of the things, but be like, wow, awesome job, guys.
It was definitely great to get the support of our managers. I think John and I both, there is a process that we have to go through to make sure that we're, doing this in a proper way, since we are employees of AWS. So, after work hours, work on the book and really understanding what it means to be an employee, and that our opinions are our own, but we're going to put everything out there accurately. But we're also unbiased when we present the book as well. We want to have a nice doing things, but point to the best practices that AWS has already called out. We got great support from our leads and peers within the company for sure.
Mm-hmm.
John, how about you? Now, wait, real quick question. Are you guys on the same team and have the same manager, or on separate teams? Okay, so this question does apply to you as well.
No, but absolutely on different teams, but similar support. And it was great to have that support. And of course, we're customer focused. So anytime we get a chance to kind of scale our knowledge and learn more in the process, not interfering with our 9 to 5 responsibilities. It was just a great experience.
Nope, I agree. In fact, that's why we're doing this bright and early in the morning, not to interfere with any of your time and dedication to support to your customers. Question on the book. I got a foreword by Jeff Barr. How did that come about?
I got to meet Jeff Barr a few years ago, actually, as through the AWS subreddit. So I happen to be a moderator, and I still am a little bit now. He was actually asking for some employees to get the AWS employee flare so that they could more appropriately interact with users on the subreddit, which was awesome. And our relationship just kind of progressed from there. Started working at AWS in October of 2019. I had the idea for the book, and what better person, who better to help us with the process and pen it forward. So we were really lucky to have Jeff's input and just overlooking articles, because obviously, as you know, and you know him well, he does such a great job of distilling complex topics in blogs, in words, in videos, in his video recaps. So great asset to have for the process, and we really can't think of enough.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. Mike, what did you feel about that? And, how awesome is it to work with Jeff?
What a humbling experience to be able to just get a little bit of Jeff's knowledge and his process. One of the things he told us about kind of early on in our process, which it took us a little bit to figure out, but it resonated kind of right in the middle of the process, was trying to write in final form, right? You're trying to minimize the amount of time you have to go through your own content and keep chipping away at it, right? And so we figured out how to adjust our process to fit that, and the way we present a recipe that really came together. And John did a great job of really trying to codify and templatify our process. And Jeff's input was really instrumental in helping build that out.
You mentioned humbling. Jeff is very humbling, very knowledgeable, but he's so personal. Great guy to interact with. So I'm glad that you got a forward. When I said forward by him and I saw that, I was like, what more than a perfect guy to, kind of give it on this book. I have another question. I have, this book, you guys just released, what was it? Has it been 6 months by now?
Not even late December of 2021 was released.
Okay, yeah, right around there. I saw that it was posted almost 6 months. Come on, man. We're almost into May. By the time this comes out, this recording comes out, it will be May. Now, AWS has been around, what's it been? 16 years, right? You figured this book would have been maybe in the first 5 years, but I think you guys did an experience, Warner Virgil's thing for there's no compression algorithm for experience. You guys have taken all that time to kind of gather all the information, be like, listen, nobody else has done it. Nobody else has put it out. And now we have 15 plus years of experience to put it into this book. I think this is perfect timing. I mean, there's no better time to get into it. And you guys have just provided, the first step for people.
You're right. I think the best time to get into it was when it started, but the second best time is right now. So, there's not an excuse to just break open the book. And speaking of Jeff and how he wrote the foreword, I really like how he describes it as a cookbook. He, of course, recommends the first chapter, security, to get a first understanding of that and get your posture set up. But then it's going to be something you're going to go back to. So as you mentioned, you might need a database recipe one day. You might need a serverless recipe another day. So you're going to kind of have it around. And hopefully it's a resource that you can use for years to come.
I agree. My quick question for you, after you guys posted, right? How many of your peers reached out to you, social media, internal, and be like, oh my God, I didn't know you guys wrote this. This is awesome. I'm sending this out. I mean, how many people reached out to you? What was the feeling?
It was really cool, to hear from folks that we've worked with in the past and that might know John and I, or just me, or just John. And, a couple of John's old friends reached out and said, hey, nice job on that. Just getting those little pings here and there. It was really encouraging. And then furthermore, the people that have read the book that we don't even know, who reach out through social media, and they're just like, hey, love the book. This is so awesome. Just wanted to connect with you. I really like how you guys did things. I learned a lot. That really pumps us up. And for us to even impact one person with what we worked on, that's really our goal. It was just really, really awesome to hear from everybody.
Yeah. How about you, John?
Same. It was really great, because anytime you create something, you kind of get a little nervous as you put it out there, your baby into the world. As much as you need to have an internal locus of evaluation, to let yourself, you can't get too flattered. You can't get too down when you see a 1-star review, but it really was nice to feel the support from people just to say, hey, we love that you put something out there. What can we do to help? Here's a LinkedIn share. Here's a tweet like. Thanks so much. And one of the things I liked is that other authors or prospective authors, contacted us and said, hey, how do we go through that process? How was your process? What do you recommend? And it really allowed us to interact and keep the ball rolling there.
I actually did that a couple of months ago when I saw an AWS folk that I knew wrote a book and released in O'Reilly. I was like, wait a second, I want to do that. Now, I wish I had some more of the initiative to sit down and write a full-on book. I have some ideas that I want to do, but there's always so much going on. But I can completely understand those reaching out to you with regards to it and be like, oh, this is awesome. This is, good job. In fact, when you guys posted it, I purchased my first copy. I was at an event. I gave it to somebody and you guys were so generous. They were so intrigued by the book. And I was like, you know what, here you go. I'll get another one. And you guys were so generous to send me my very own copy. In fact, I think we're planning to get together. I'd like to get this signed when we get together. And I know we're going to try to get something in June or sometime this summer. Mike, you're in Ohio. John, you're in Pennsylvania with me. So I think this is very doable. We'll meet halfway. We'll put together an event, or maybe Mike's coming out this way, since two of us are over here, and we'll put together an event in AWS and we'll do a book signing. We'll talk about the topics in this. What do you guys think?
Sounds awesome.
All right. We'll have to plan this. Okay. Let's talk about some of the free stuff. John, you gave me some links on GitHub, some of the free stuff from free chapters, and you provided a lot. I mean, you almost gave this book away for free with all the stuff. Now, I know you can only give so much away. Do you want to talk about some of the things that you're providing to people from the start?
Absolutely. And, we're happy to give back, and hopefully we can continue to post more free content. But what we do have is a bunch of GitHub repos under a GitHub organization for each chapter. But we also have a getting started repo, which has the full complete preface. So I think that's a great way you could read and figure out who the book's for, what the book will give you, what the book includes, how to get prepared to use the book before you even consider a purchase. And maybe you don't want to make a purchase. Maybe you just want to look at the free recipes. We also list free recipes, which are the complete recipe from the book. So it's going to include a problem statement. And then we talk about the solution, which is a few sentences about what it's going to include. We always list a diagram of the solution to get a visual representation of what's going to happen. We go through the steps, which will have some tips or hints in there as well, or things to watch out for, a few paragraph discussion, and then we end each recipe with a challenge. So if you really like that recipe, but maybe you want to take it farther or had some questions about what to do next, the challenge really gives you that impetus to figure out what to do to extend it. So really great format. We liked it.
Mike, what was the whole idea behind giving? I can't even put a percentage to it. I feel like it's like 50%. I mean, it's a good chunk of free stuff. What was the whole idea behind it? And by the way, I love it that you guys are giving away like so much of this free stuff, because it's not about money to you. It's about providing the value and the education to the customers and the enjoyable process that you went through. And I'm sure it was painful at sometimes, but at the end, it was well worth it. What's the whole idea behind this?
Yeah, so putting out the content on GitHub, it's github.com/AWS Cookbook. You'll see the getting started repo there, and then each chapter is named underneath that central landing spot. Interacting with folks and encouraging people to go in and suggest a new recipe, for example. Like, we want to hear from people, maybe like, hey, there's this new database service out and I want to figure out how to use it. Great. Propose that as an issue in one of our repos there, and we'll get on it. It's fun for us. All of the preparation code for the entire book is actually there. With the free recipes that we give out, you get that additional context in the discussion that John mentioned. But all the code there is CDK 2.0. So if you wanted to learn a little bit of CDK, you can go spelunking through our code base as well, jump in and get going.
Awesome. So guys, before we wrap this, Mike, is there anything you want to leave with the audience? Now, it could be specifically to AWS. It could be writing a book, some passion stuff you're about, some content, whatever it is. I leave it as an open forum.
Well, I'll probably just kind of tee on to what I was just talking about. It's really kind of connecting with the community that's out there. If there's ideas for new recipes, if John and I see enough of these ideas that come out, we get inspired to write, like some follow-on chapters or something, whatever it might be. Connect with us on GitHub, LinkedIn, wherever you feel comfortable. We love chatting with people and hear how they're using it, hear how they're learning. So just, get involved.
You were talking about maybe a book too, or I'm throwing it out there, AWS Cookbook, dessert on AWS, whatever it is. Yeah. Just an idea. I claim that, by the way. John, how about you? Anything you want to leave with the audience?
I'd really have to echo that. Just let's get involved. We'd love this to turn into a community platform. So maybe if there's a recipe or a topic that you want to see, create an issue. We'll upvote it. If there's something you think might be done wrong, create a bug fix. If there's another chapter or a challenge you want to see coded, we'll make that. We had some community members already come together and say they might publish some Terraform code for all the recipes. Awesome. So we just can't wait to see where it goes. If you want to buy a copy, great. But I think we really want to encourage people to interact on the GitHub repo.
Now, he said, do you want to buy a copy? That'd be great. If not, you can go to the GitHub repo. They do have their book on Amazon, right? Correct. Because that's where I bought mine. Yes, throwing a little plug in there. We are talking with Mike Zazon and John Culkin on their book, AWS Cookbook, Recipes for Success on AWS. Now, real quick, guys, last question I have for you, and I'm not sure you're allowed to share. Do you know how many copies you sold? Is that public out on the Amazon thing or in general?
So it's been a couple months, less than 1 million, more than 1,000.
That's a good round number. All right, we'll leave it generic. Yeah, I know that's a big thing. That's okay. We're going to talk about this again.
I hope so. Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, awesome. Everybody, my name's John Myer. I've been your host on the John Myer podcast. Joining me today was Mike Zazon and John Culkin talking about their book, AWS Cookbook. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify. Guys, thank you so much for joining me.
Cheers. Have a great one, John.
Thanks, John.
All right, guess what? We're out of here.